Hey y'all, what's up? I literally haven't posted anything in so long. It literally doesn't matter. I don't owe anybody anything. But we're back with the Bible. Here it is. Whoa. And today we're in the book of Habakkuk, which is not one that I have read before. A lot of these I haven't read before. I'm actually in Zephaniah, but I put a little bobby pin as like a little bookmark because I wanted to read it again to you guys. And I've been putting it off for a few days. I don't really know why. I just have. And today, obviously, Charlie Kirk was assassinated, which was not good. I mean, there were some things that I disagreed with, which is fair. Like, no person is ever going to agree with another person on everything. But he was a man of God. He had my respect to some degree, like being able to go out and speak your mind and debate with people is like, not many people are bold enough to do that, so good for him. And no one deserves to die, especially via gun violence. So, yeah, say what you want about him. It's not good that he died. It's not good when anybody dies, except for like Hitler. He's like the only exception. That was a good day for humanity. So we're in Habakkuk. And I thought it was actually kind of relevant to what's just occurred for anybody who might be like, and it's not just Charlie Kirk, obviously, like there's so much stuff around the world that's happening that is terrible. Like Israel and Palestine, Ukraine and Russia, the Ukrainian woman being murdered, blatantly murdered on the train, Charlie Kirk being assassinated, a dead body found in David's trunk. Like, it's been not that long. It's been like 3 days and like 3 new things have happened to do with murder and death and sadness. So it's like, why does this happen? And so Habakkuk in this book, is crying out to God, which is like the first thing we should do when we're worried about something or confused about something. We cast our cares onto him because we can't handle them ourselves. He handles them. He's in charge of everything. And so he asks, "O Lord, how long shall I cry, and you will not hear? Even cry out to you violence, and you will not save? Why do you show me iniquity, and cause me to see trouble? For plundering and violence are before me. There is strife and contention arises. Therefore the law is powerless, and justice never goes forth. For the wicked surround the righteous, therefore perverse judgment proceeds." I feel that. So that's Habakkuk 1, verses 1 to 4. And then the Lord replies, "Look among the nations and watch, be utterly astounded, for I will work a work in your days which you would not believe, though it were told you." So he's saying that he's going to raise up the Chaldeans, which I think are the Babylonians, and they're going to bring justice on Israel. Now, Israel was sinful and perverse, but objectively the Chaldeans were worse. That rhymed. And so Habakkuk's like, he's confused by this, and he's like, why are you using judgment on them? But ultimately, God held Israel to a higher standard because they were his people. And it's the same for everybody. Like, when you have a greater knowledge of something than other people do, you are held to a higher standard because you should know better. So, like, I mean, you do know better. So, like, Christians as well, like, we are held to a higher standard than somebody who doesn't know God, because we know right and wrong. We know, like, the truth of what Christianity is and who God is. So when we sin against him, we're held to a higher standard because we know not to mess up in that way. So God says what he's going to do. So I love what he says. I love what Habakkuk says in chapter 2, the beginning of chapter 2. So he's asked these questions. He's gotten his answer. He asked the second question of, like, why is a worse nation judging a less bad nation, a more righteous nation? And he comes to God. The way that he cries out to him. He wrestles with these questions. And then he doesn't just want a reply on his terms and his timeline. He says, "I will stand my watch and set myself on the rampart." I don't know what that means. "And watch to see what he will say to me." So he was watching and waiting. It's an active waiting. "And I will answer when I am corrected." So he goes to God knowing that he is lower. He doesn't have as much understanding as we as humans don't have as much understanding than God. And he knows that what he's wrestling with is because he has not as much understanding. So he's waiting to be corrected. So he's waiting, like, he knows it's God's will, it's God's timeline. So he's not going to rush anything, and he's not going to be like, answer me now, because God's not going to answer him now, probably. And he knows that what he's going to get, the answer that he gets, he's expecting an answer, not on his timeline, but he knows that the answer that he gets will be right and will probably correct him. He knows that he's not right. So there you go. So then the Lord answers him and says, this is called the just live by faith. He talks about a vision, and then he says, behold the proud, his soul is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. And then he goes through this whole thing. It's like this whole chapter, verse 5 to 20 of chapter 2, of the woe to the wicked. And it's just a ton of woes. It's woe to him who increases, woe to him who covets evil gain for his house, woe to him who builds the town with bloodshed. For the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of God as waters cover the sea. The earth is mostly water, and the earth is going to be filled with just as much knowledge, if not more, of the glory of God. And then woe to him who gives drink to his neighbor, etc. And it's all these woes. Woe to him who says to wood, awake. So it's that idolatry, like, you know, you make an idol and then you start to worship it. It's like, it didn't create anything, you created it, kind of whatever. But he basically says, woe to these people. They're going to be dealt with through his judgment. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let the earth keep silence before him. He's up in his temple. He has his eye over everything. He has his hand over every situation. There is not one moment where we are out of God's hands. We may stray from him. Like, so he's here, we're here, and we decide, okay, I'm going to go away from you. But you know how big God's hands are? They're like huge, huge hands. So even though we're walking away, we're still here. He's here, but he's also here. And he's waiting for us to be like, yo, actually, I'm going to come back. Even in strife, he's underneath us, and he's got us, and he's supporting us. And sometimes, some people are given over to the devil. Because when you continue to disobey and go down paths that aren't righteous or obedient, then yeah, God will be like, alright, you don't want me? Have fun. You know, the road to heaven feels like hell, and the road to hell feels like heaven. And sometimes when we're given over to the devil, it might feel easier. But really, our soul is unrested. Because God's like, yo, there you go. That's what you wanted. Free will, and also natural consequence. So then at the end of the book, Habakkuk prays a prophet's prayer, is what it says. He says, O Lord, I have heard your speech and was afraid. He asks him in wrath, remember mercy. He's not saying that, like, your wrath is unrighteous, you shouldn't have wrath. He's like, just remember mercy. You went forth for the salvation of your people, for salvation with your anointed. You struck the head from the house of the wicked by laying bare from foundation to neck. I'm just skipping through a little bit. When I heard, my body trembled, my lips quivered at the voice, and I trembled in myself that I might rest in the day of trouble, because the day of trouble is going to be intense. And then he ends with this lovely final poem, a hymn of faith. And he talks about, though the fig tree may not blossom, though there may not be peace, nor fruit be on the vines, though the labor of the olive may fail, though the fields yield no food, though the flock may be cut off from the fold, and there be no herd in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord, I will joy in the Lord of my salvation. The Lord God is my strength, he will make my feet like deer's feet, and he will make me walk on my high hills. It's like a deer's feet on the high hills. They're not just walking, they're prancing, they're leaping, they're excited about things. So not only are we in God's hands, but when we find joy in the Lord for our salvation, and he strengthens us, then we will be joyful and leap and thrive. So all up, things suck, right? It's hard out here, but woe to the wicked, the just live by faith. We need to live by faith, because that's all we need. right? Judgment will come. Righteousness will reign supreme. And God's hands are huge. And He's got us. Whether we feel it or not, God is not a feeling. He is always here. People think that He's just sitting up in His temple not doing anything. Not true. I think I was reading in Zephaniah. It shall come to pass, so this is Zephaniah chapter 1 verse 12. It shall come to pass at that time that I will search Jerusalem with lamps and punish the men who are settled in complacency, who say in their heart, the Lord will not do good, nor will He do evil. He's going to punish those people who say, God doesn't do anything. He doesn't do good. He doesn't do evil. He just sits in his little temple and does nothing. They will also be punished, and judgment will be brought to them. So, I'm not going to slap my Bible. Get right with God, because things are getting real. Things are intense, and yeah, but judgment's coming, which, as Christians, should be a comfort, I think. And I think for a lot of people it should be a comfort, because it's tough seeing all this stuff happen and not being able to do anything about it. But as I said, God's hands are huge. We're still in His hands, and He's not idle at all. So, this was a long one, but thanks. Bye.